Posted by user 051015. No leggings? No problem. I was just reminded of this situation because of some creepy dad over at AITA hung up about his daughter showing off her assets by wearing leggings to church. Anyway, I briefly worked in a repair shop for a luxury watch company. The dress code stated that you couldn't wear leggings. Cool. I'm not a leggings as much as a pants person. Doesn't bother me. One day, I wore a cute gray dress and a pair of leggings under it. Let me also quickly just say that we had to dress up even though we put a lab coat over our clothes and were never customer facing. I heard some chattering from a few of the older employees about leggings, but ignored them because clearly they were overreacting, right? How is this different than wearing pantyhose? Because my feet aren't enclosed? I'm minding my business and a few hours later, my manager comes over and pulls me aside. She walks me to the locker room and tells me I'm being asked to go home and change because I'm wearing leggings. People have complained. I'm floored. I live an hour away and you want to send me home because I have them on under a dress? I just looked at her, unbuttoned my lab coat, kicked off my flats, ripped my leggings off, and put my coat back on. Right in front of her. Dress code compliant with no gas money spent. I had an awful case of chub rub by the end of the day, but everyone finally shut up. Just ridiculous. Edit. Since 40 of you are going to ask individually instead of reading other comments, chub rub is when your chubby thighs rub together and shave. It is a fairly common term in the States for a regular phenomenon that affects the majority of women, people, who don't have a thigh gap. It has nothing to do with a penis. Posted by user Yatisa. Make that machine go faster. I work as a medical laboratory scientist, or MLS, in a fairly large 600-bed regional hospital. I'm the one that runs all the tests your doctor orders on your blood and other body fluids. Our testing areas or benches in the lab are chemistry, hematology, coagulation, urinalysis, blood bank, and microbiology, each of which has several analyzers, machines ranging from the size of a microwave to the size of a hippo, used for testing different things. I work nights, so it's just a skeleton crew in the lab. 2 of us MLS lab techs, 1 lab assistant, and 2 phlebotomists who double as specimen processors. As you can imagine, things get pretty busy with those many benches to cover for that many patients and just the 2 of us to cover them. Between level 1 traumas being flown in from all over the western half of our state and the eastern half of our neighboring state, heart attacks, surgeries, drug overdoses, sepsis, meningitis, cancer, etc., it's hard to keep up. Additionally, much of the testing takes upwards of 15 to 20 minutes or more to run on the analyzer, depending on the test, and some a lot longer than that. Most of the nurses and doctors understand our constraints, and while we do get the occasional call asking when results will be ready, they mostly leave us alone. Well, last night I had a doctor calling for the results on a hepatitis panel. These are not usually considered stat tests, but this one was ordered as such, so I got it running right away. But the panel takes a long time to run, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, and 45 minutes depending on if it is reactive and reflexes to further testing. The doctor called me after I'd only had it on the analyzer for 15 minutes. I informed him it would be at least another half hour, maybe as much as an hour and a half longer, and he told me that that was ridiculous. And he said that it had never taken that long before. I said I was sorry, but that was the only estimate I had to give him. 35 minutes later, the doctor walked into the lab. For those who don't know, this is an extremely rare occurrence. We see nurses and CNAs all the time, but doctors are too busy to ever come down themselves unless it's a dire situation. Me. Hi, how can I help you? Doctor. Are you the one I talked to on the phone earlier? Is my hepatitis ready yet? I'm not seeing it on the chart. Me. Let me check. No, it looks like it's still running. The current estimate is another 30 minutes, and I'll be sure to release the results to the patient's chart as soon as it's finished. Doctor. 30 more minutes? That's insane. You told me 30 minutes on the phone 35 minutes ago. Me. I told you at least 30 minutes, and I said it could take as much as an hour and a half. 30 more minutes is actually right on the middle of my original estimate. Doctor. This is totally unacceptable. You need to do something to make that machine go faster. I had about reached my limit with this guy, so at that point, I turned around and walked a few steps over to the analyzer in question, leaned in close to where I could hear the machinery buzzing along, and yelled, "Go faster!" as loud as I could. When I turned back to the doctor, I noticed his face was an odd shade of purple as he turned around and stomped out of the lab without another word. He could write me up for unprofessionalism, but not without revealing himself to be a total ass in the process. So, I think I'm safe. TLDR, doctor demands I make a machine go faster, so I yell at it to go faster. Posted by user Smartest Monkey. Maliciously awesome. Not the typical malicious compliance posting, but just occurred to me. I used to work at a Wags restaurant. It was a Chicago area chain started by Walgreens. The idea to start a Denny's-like restaurant chain grew out of the idea, hey, our pharmacies used to have soda shops 40 years ago, so why not? Anyway, put 15 to 16-year-old kids in as line cooks, and this is what you get. We had our regulars on the late shift, a few guys who were probably out drinking alone earlier in the evening. One time, while a regular was at the counter, where he could see us cooking at least from the shoulders up, a waitress ordered an omelette for her dinner break. Being young goofs, instead of making her a fluffy, huge 3-egg omelette, we whipped the eggs in a shake blender and used more oil than should be legally allowed to essentially flash fry them into glorious eggy pillows. We used something like 6, cooked it in a 9-inch pan instead of a 6-inch pan, plated it, and lifted that glorious monster in the window. So, of course, when asked what he wanted, regular late-night customer pointed to our gag omelet and said, "One of those." He was always a polite, quiet, good customer, so malicious compliance. We made him a 9-egg monster, slathered in cheese with extra hash browns and a half-dozen sausage and a half-dozen strips of bacon. I think we had to plate it on a platter instead of a regular dinner plate. Still remember, guy looked like he won the lottery, but I don't recall if I hung around long enough to see if he finished it. So, yeah, only malicious to the corporation, really. This was over 30 years ago now, but the $5 we charged for a regular omelette back then was still dirt cheap, and he got about a triple that night. By the way, if you're not familiar, it's because Wags went out of business a couple decades ago. Don't think it was because of me, though.